Hello, everybody. All right. I'm just going to launch straight into this. Put my notes down from Bible every morning. Let's read. There's a lot going on in the world, in my life, in the Sogomentarian project. But let's get a little bit caught up on some of the global events. Armenian Prime Minister meets Erdogan, the Turkish dictator, Aliyev, the Azerbaijani dictator, and EU high ranking officials at the European Political Summit in Tirana. Let's stop sharing that. Make it larger so I can. Okay, let me just read. So, this right here is the man with his hands up facing us is Pashinyan, the Armenian prime minister. And on the left of this picture facing him is Erdogan, the Turkish dictator. So they're having a little spontaneous, right? Turkey on the left has in its philosophy establishing the new Ottoman Empire, right? Aliyev says it over and over again, and I don't think it's his stump speech to rally his Turkish nationalists, right? There's nothing wrong with Turkish nationalism, just like there's nothing wrong with American nationalism, patriotism, except when the Turkish nationalism includes eradicating and other ethnic populations, right? So there is a genocidal underpinning to this push or this drive by Erdogan to reinstate the Ottoman Empire. He kind of feels like he's the one called to restore the grandeur of the Ottomans. And unfortunately, one of those things include what's called pan-Turanism, which is an ethnic purity of the Turkish people, and that eventually there would be no Christians or Armenians anywhere. So that's a little difficulty that is posed here. How to, here's Erdogan. Erdogan and Pashinyan, the Turk and the Armenian leaders. Let's read it. Enough of my kind of pontificating. On May 16th, so 5 days ago, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan participated in the opening ceremony of the 6th European Political Community Summit held in the Albanian capital, Tirana, hosted by Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama. The summit, now let me mention something. Albania is a country that Azerbaijan, when they're trying to genocide Armenian history, right? So genocide includes erasure of history, the writing out of the history books of cultures, right? When you remove them from your history, their existence disappears in the past. So what about all these ancient artifacts that we find around here, Mr. Azerbaijani leader? Oh, those isn't this a sign of an ancient Armenian culture? Like, no, those are Albanian, right? So the Albanians become the substitute. And I haven't done my research on Albania itself, but Armenian ancient artifacts in Azerbaijan are referred to as Albanian. So they're the tool being used to erase Armenia, I think both in Turkey and in Azerbaijan, just so you know. So this thing is happening, this event is happening in Albania. So there's this irony to the whole thing. Hosted by Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama, the summit brought together a broad spectrum of European leaders for discussions on regional cooperation and security. During the high-profile gathering, Pashinyan engaged in several sideline meetings, including brief encounters with two of Armenia's most prominent neighbors, Turkey and Azerbaijan. A short but notable exchange took place between Prime Minister Pashinyan and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. A video circulated online showed, this is bad, wrong grammar. Editor. A video that circulated online showed the two leaders engaged in a brief conversation with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev later joining them. So it was brief, and then the Azeri jumped in for an even more brief joining. Later, Pashinyan held a separate meeting with President Aliyev. Okay. The discussion, which took place on the sidelines of the summit, was highlighted in a video posted to the Armenian leader's official Facebook page, while details of the conversation were not disclosed, the meeting marked another step in ongoing efforts toward dialogue following years of conflict over Artsakh. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Pashinyan also held a series of bilateral meetings with several European leaders, further emphasizing Armenia's growing diplomatic engagement within the European framework. Pashinyan met with Kaja Kallas, and I believe that's Greek. I believe this is a Greek person, and the Greeks and the Armenians have a joint cause, because there were 300,000 Greeks who were also massacred in the Christian Holocaust of World War I, which was the end of the Ottoman Empire. Pashinyan met with Kaja Kallas, pronunciation, sorry, I don't know, the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission. According to a statement by the Armenian Prime Minister on social media, the two discussed issues pertaining to the further development of Armenian-EU cooperation, reaffirming Armenia's commitment to its European path. In a conversation with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Pashinyan extended his congratulations to Merz's recent assumption of the office and wished him success. The two leaders discussed the advancement of Armenia-Germany cooperation and touched upon the ongoing efforts toward a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Regional developments in Armenia-EU ties were also on the agenda during a meeting with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, while Pashinyan and Austrian Federal Chancellor Christian Stocker explored ways to keep Armenia-Austria relations. With Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, discussions focused on the continued strengthening of Armenia's cooperation with the European Union. The Prime Minister also exchanged views with OSCE Secretary General Ferdum Singrilu on regional, I think that's a Turkish name actually, regional processes. Brief but significant conversations were also held with French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Swiss President Karin Keller-Starmer, Moldovan President Maya Sandu. This is an exercise in pronunciation. Prince Albert II of Monaco, Council of Europe Secretary General Alain Berset, and Andorran Prime Minister Javier Espot Zamora, among other high-ranking officials. The European Political Community Summit now is in its sixth session, is designed to encourage collaboration among European nations on pressing continental challenges. All right, so this is informational. He's there hobnobbing with world leaders, and he, when you go to Armenia, there's in any political position, you're going to have your opposition, right? You're going to have internal strife in your own community. Oops, what did I do? What happened? Oh, there it is. You're going to have internal strife in your own community. And so Pashinyan here is popular among some and not popular among others. Hold on a second. I'm changing websites here. Popular with some and unpopular with others. And so it's playing politics is, it's a game. It's diplomacy is, a game. But, here he is facing the people that want his extermination, and he'll make decisions. And we don't know everything going on behind the scenes, right? He'll make decisions that are unpopular with one side or unpopular with the other side. And so it's extremely divided. I actually, in all this, because Pashinyan has been in that position since I came to the story. I've only known Pashinyan as the leader of Armenia. I'm in my 8th year, and I think he had just become elected when I first started, or somewhere around then. So maybe he's only been there 7 years and I was not aware of it, but he's been there the whole time. And I, to this day, don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't know if, when I'm talking to Armenians, I'll be in one group and they'll complain about Pashinyan. And then I'll be in another group and they're like, well, he's doing what he can. So I, as the outsider, look in and not knowing the minutia of the, politics, you know, I, I really can't judge. I don't have kind of a leg to stand on as to condemn Pashinyan or to promote and endorse Pashinyan. So I'm just going to be honest. Let me just read a couple more articles. Carry in my pronunciations that we're talking about. I speak a foreign language. I understand that, I speak Spanish. I understand pronunciations in different cultures are different. But, I only understand Spanish. There's all these different cultures with different pronunciations. All right, I'm just going to read some of these articles. Just, I was skimming them earlier, and let me, oops, I clicked the wrong one. I wanted to go to this one first. All right, Armenian and Iranian, right? So this for us again is crazy, and I've explained to you, Iran is an ally of Armenia, the best ally, the most important ally, regionally at least, because of the hostile nations on the other borders, right? So you have to, look at Mexico. We've got this nation on our southern border that's allowing certain hostilities, but we maintain a relationship with them, and so no matter what awful things they may allow internally, you want to play politics and diplomacy. So let's see. Armenian and Iranian defense minister discuss regional security issues. I think this is happening simultaneous to that European Union summit in Albania. Oh, actually, this is a few days later. So, well, don't quote me on that. That other article, the other event was from May 16th. This article is published May 20th. So maybe it doesn't overlap. Anyway, not important. Yerevan, which is the capital of Armenia, which everyone in the sound of my voice and everyone outside of the sound of my voice should go visit. Everyone needs to go to Yerevan. In your international travel plans, put Yerevan at the top of the list. Forget Paris, knock it down to number 2, or Berlin, knock it down to number 3, or London, knock it down to number 4. Yerevan should be number 1 on everybody's international travel plans. You will thank me. Okay. Wow. I got one word into this article. Yerevan. Iran's defense minister, Aziz Nasirzadeh. How's that? There's Mr. Nasirzadeh. Met with his Armenian counterpart, Surin Papikian. There's Surin on the left. On Tuesday, during an official visit to Yerevan that came 1 month after a first ever joint military exercise held by the two neighboring states. Yes, so Armenia and Iran held a joint military exercise. And America, this is the conflict, right? The first Christian nation, Armenia, is allies with Iran. And the United States, the greatest Christian nation, is, exerting political pressure on Iran. It's such a beautiful, complex geopolitical scenario that I find myself in. The Armenian defense minister said they discussed bilateral relations and regional security, but gave no further details. The minister highly praised the level of cooperation between the two countries in the field of defense. It said in a short statement, Iran and Armenia have a strong will to improve relations. The Iranian Mer news agency quoted Nasirzadeh as saying on his arrival in the Armenian capital earlier in the day. Papikian said an official visit to Tehran. Papikian paid an official visit to Tehran in March 2024. His press office reported that at the time that he and the then Iranian defense minister, Mohammad Reza Ashtiani, reached, quote, a number of understandings on issues of mutual interest. He's being given a Picture. Wonder where he's going to put that. The Armenian army and Iran's elite military force, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, held the joint exercise along the Armenian-Iranian border last month. They simulated a joint operation against imaginary terrorist groups attacking the border crossing. A top IRCG general stressed the strategic importance of the border for Tehran. And again, this is just headlines. This is just what's being put out there. And some of this might just be for show for the international community. But even if it's just for show for the international community, it makes a statement that Armenia and Iran are maintaining a posture of collaboration and peace. And it's a good thing, right? America may refer to Iran as a terrorist state, certainly a sponsor of terrorism. Armenia has bigger fish to fry. Armenia has its own existence to consider. And Iran and Turkey are not friends. Iran and Azerbaijan are not friends. And so Armenia has to pick some strange bedfellows to be friends with. All right, let's go to another article. Now, here's what the next one I had clicked before. This is good news. I mean, things that should be done. Again, maybe some of this is just posturing or come on. All right. Swiss lawmakers launch new platform advocating for the right of return of Armenians from Artsakh. All right. So the name of this channel, Sovereign Artsakh, is a region that has been genocided, has been ethnically cleansed. I started this channel when Artsakh still existed. So I started this YouTube channel when Artsakh still was occupied by Armenians. And 2 years ago, they were finally genocided. And when I say that, I don't mean massacred. I mean ethnically cleansed from their ancestral homeland. Yes, some were massacred in fighting, but 120,000 native inhabitants, indigenous people on a land they lived on indigenously for 5,000 years were removed. Right? That just happened. Nobody knows about it. So advocating for the right of return of Armenians from Artsakh. Let's read. On May 26th, a cross-party committee, and that's the beauty. This is even in other countries that have political arguing. In the United States, Democrats and Republicans can unite, and in other countries, right? This is a cross-party committee of 19 parliamentarians in support of the Swiss Peace Initiative for Nagorno-Karabakh, right? The world's name for Artsakh. The Google Maps might have, I don't know, actually, might not even be in Google Maps. Will be launched in Bern, the capital of Switzerland. The initiative is being launched to support Switzerland's commitment to, quote, facilitate an open dialogue between Azerbaijan and representatives of the Nagorno-Karabakh Armenian people conducted under international supervision or in the presence of internationally relevant actors to negotiate the safe and collective return of the historically resident Armenian population. I like that phrase. The historically resident, that just means indigenous, right? This is their land and always has been. The oldest known artifacts in that region are the ancient Armenian like kachkars, which are cross stones, and monasteries built in the glorious, picturesque green tree-covered mountains. It's paradise. It's like I was going to say Narnia, but actually more like Lord of the Rings, right? Just the gorgeous places. Gosh, Nagorno-Karabakh's population of 120,000 Armenian Christians was forced to flee the region in the wake of Azerbaijan's invasion in September of 2023. So coming up on 2 years. The exodus was the latest twist in a decades-long struggle over the territory historically inhabited by Armenians, but claimed by Azerbaijan. Claimed because Stalin carved it out. The communist dictator carved Azerbaijan into existence. Azerbaijan didn't exist, and then after World War I, Stalin carves out, here's Armenia. Let's just cut a big chunk out of Armenia that has always existed and make it a part of this other region, Azerbaijan. Woo. The inaugural event of the committee will take place on May 26th at the Hotel Krantz in Bern. Boy, I'd like to be in Switzerland on May 26th. The committee, which has broad cross-party support, is led by National Councillor Eric von Tobel, EDU Zurich, and National Councillor Stefan Müller-Altermatt. I have no idea. I'm trying. The center party's Solothurn. The event will feature presentations from von Tobel and Müller-Altermatt, as well as Vartan Oskanian, the former foreign minister of Armenia and current chairman of the Committee for the Defense of the Fundamental Rights of the People of Nagorno-Karabakh, Vardan Tadevosyan, the director of the Lady Cox Rehabilitation Center, formerly in Nagorno-Karabakh, Sarkis Shahinian, the General Secretary of the Parliamentary Friendship Group Switzerland Armenia, and Dr. Joel Veldkamp, CSI's Director of Public Advocacy. All right, good thing happening so they say it's a platform. I wonder if it's an online platform I'll be able to log into. So I am going to keep tabs on this development. All right, next, let me read this one. Cyprus. All these countries are doing the right thing. So I think globally there's things going on, obviously, that we as Americans or whoever's watching this, we don't keep up on, we're unable to keep up on. But November 5th, the election of President Trump has global geopolitical implications. And I think some people are trying some CYA, not Cyprus, but certainly in the previous article with Turkey and Azerbaijan, I think there's some CYA going on, and I think we're going to see Armenians return to Artsakh. And the reason I name this sovereign Artsakh is I don't think the solution is annexing Artsakh and making it a part of the nation of Armenia, thus expanding the territory of Armenia. I don't think that's the solution. Some people are calling for that, even though it is traditional Armenian land. I think in today's current climate, I think it's better served as its own enclave, a sovereign nation. I believe Artsakh should be a sovereign entity that would obviously have the closest possible alliances to Armenia. So it would be two Armenian nations there. I think that's what needs to happen. I think that's the answer. Hence the name Sovereign Artsakh. And that's what I will continue to push for forever until it happens. And then we'll call it Sovereign Artsakh, because there is a Sovereign Artsakh, right? Yerevan, Cyprus and Armenia are linked by historical brotherly bonds, common principles and values, as well as unwavering solidarity between true friends. Cyprus National Assembly President Anita Demetriou said after talks with the president of Armenian National Assembly, Alen Simonian, our institutional relationship is sealed by the memorandum of cooperation between the two parliaments, which we agreed to update and expand, aimed at a strategic parliamentary cooperation and strengthening of interparliamentary diplomacy, she said. In a volatile geopolitical environment, the two countries face common challenges that require a united and consistent international stance and two-foot and two-stand avoidance. Anita Demetriou said. Cyprus firmly supports Armenia's European path and its efforts for regional peace, and in this context, the Armenian Crossroads for Peace initiative. We invest in dialogue, cooperation, and solidarity for the safety and stability of our people, the speaker said. Cyprus supports the peace process between Armenia and Azerbaijan and emphasizes its significance not only for regional stability, but also from the perspective of Armenia's prospects for European Union membership, stated by Anita. It's either Anita or Anita. I know the name. My daughter's name, my oldest, is Annika, Annika. So this woman faces the same pronunciation challenges as my daughter. Some people say Anita or Anita. So Anita. We're hopeful that a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan will be signed as soon as possible. Ooh, that's quite a hope. That's quite a hope. It's reminiscent to me of Israel and Yasser Arafat, right? When whoever it was back then, whoever the Israeli prime minister and Yasser Arafat, right? The peace deal, the Oslo Accords, right? We're gonna make concessions just to get this thing signed. The Israelis made it all the concessions that the Palestinians or Yasser Arafat were making or wanting, and they'd meet and like, oh great, you've made these concessions, you've agreed to our terms. We're still not signing, says Yasser Arafat, right? We're still not signing, right? They're just, they don't want peace. They're not interested in peace. They're not interested. Oh, yeah, they want peace. They want the big peace of Armenia, right? They want peace that excludes Armenia's existence, right? They're not going to sign a peace accord. They're not until, I would argue, until Donald Trump or something of some force of that, Marco Rubio, the Donald Trump, he's the Secretary of State. He is the President of the United States for all intents and purposes. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, carries the full weight of the American government upon him. All right, sorry, I'm going on tangents. I don't think Azerbaijan's going to sign. I don't think Azerbaijan will sign anything. Like Yasser Arafat didn't sign anything. But I want to be wrong, right? I want to be wrong. Let me start that paragraph. We're hopeful that a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan will be signed as soon as possible. National Assembly President Alan Simonian informed us about the efforts being made in that direction. We, for our part, okay, I have to, before we're done, let me finish reading. We, for our part, are ready to support all diplomatic efforts undertaken within international frameworks. Ultimately, the peace agreement must not only be signed, but also fully implemented, Demetrios said. Stability and peace will contribute to Armenia's development, the expansion of international cooperation, and the strengthening of its European perspective. This will also support the Republic of Armenia's accession to the EU and help foster closer relationships with other countries. When there's peace, every country can flourish and grow, she added. So I'm not an EU proponent. I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I understand a small country like Armenia wanting to join and have these treaties, the benefits that accompany joining something like the EU. I just think the EU is an ill-conceived notion. That's why Brexit. That's why England pulled out. That's why Germany is, it's just a bad idea. Somebody had an idea and they didn't think it through, and they all signed up, and then the poorer countries in the EU suffered, and the richer countries, they all suffered. And then before we're out of time, all right, let me just finish the article. The Speaker of the Cypriot Parliament also recalled that Cyprus has experienced its own longstanding peace challenges over half a century and therefore understands Armenia's situation deeply. Cyprus has been divided for 50 years. We know that it means to live under the conditions of a prolonged We know what it means to live under the conditions of a prolonged conflict. That experience is precisely why Cyprus supports the Armenian people's efforts to establish lasting peace, concluded the president of the Cypriot Parliament. So what would have to happen in Azerbaijan for peace to happen? What would have to happen in order for peace is that Azerbaijan, I'm going to answer your question here in a second, Carrie. Azerbaijan will have to recognize that Azeris and Armenians are the same. Right now, in Azerbaijan, if I said that, I would be mocked, derided, ridiculed, and probably threatened with violence. If I said Azeris and Armenians are the same, and you guys know what I mean. We are all human. We are all equal in the eyes of God, but they are racist. Azeris are uber, ultra racist against Armenians. They look at them as lesser humans, lesser beings, a lesser species. It's vile. They mock and ridicule and portray Armenians as like dogs. All right. So to clarify, Carrie, Nagorno-Karabakh, also known as Artsakh, is a territory within the borders of Azerbaijan that Stalin carved out. Like Joseph Stalin created the border, the perimeter of Azerbaijan, including a big section of Armenian land that should have been carved out for Armenia. It should have been included in Armenia. And now 100 years later, well, 2 years ago, Armenians were exterminated, ethnically cleansed, removed from that region that's technically in the border of Azerbaijan. And my whole case is it shouldn't be Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has to give up that territory to establish the sovereign nation of Artsakh. Love you guys. See you tomorrow on Bible Every Morning.